The name Lucifer carries a sense of ancient mystery and profound tragedy. Its origins are rooted in Latin, meaning light-bringer or morning star. Initially, this term was not associated with a fallen angel, but referred to the planet Venus, the bright star that appears in the sky before sunrise. In early celestial observations, this morning star heralded the coming of daylight, a symbol of brilliance and beauty. Many ancient cultures revered such celestial bodies. Within religious traditions, particularly later Christian thought, Lucifer was envisioned as one of God's most magnificent angelic creations. He was thought to possess extraordinary wisdom, beauty, and power, holding a high and honored position in the heavenly hierarchy, close to the divine presence. The primary biblical passage often linked to Lucifer is found in Isaiah 14:12. This verse reads, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." It is important to understand the original context of this statement. Scholars generally agree that Isaiah was delivering a prophetic taunt against a human ruler, the powerful king of Babylon. This king was known for his arrogance and his oppressive reign. However, over time, early Christian theologians and writers began to interpret this passage allegorically. They saw the king's pride and subsequent downfall as a metaphor for a far greater celestial rebellion, applying it to a prominent angel who fell from divine favor. Before any notion of a fall, Lucifer was depicted as a being of unparalleled splendor. Some interpretations draw from passages like Ezekiel 28, which, similar to Isaiah 14, originally addressed a human king, the king of Tyre. These texts metaphorically describe a being adorned with every precious stone, perfect in his ways from the day of his creation. He was described as a covering cherub, implying a protective and prominent role in the divine court. He walked among the fiery stones in the holy mountain of God, imagery that conveys immense privilege and closeness to the divine. His existence was a testament to the Creator's power and artistry, a shining example of angelic perfection. Central to understanding Lucifer's story is the concept of free will, a gift bestowed upon angels as well as humans. This capacity to choose between obedience and rebellion was essential for genuine love and service to God. Without free will, angelic devotion would be mere programming. However, this divine gift also carried the inherent risk of misuse. It is believed that Lucifer's extraordinary attributes, his beauty, intelligence, and power, may have inadvertently contributed to his temptation. The idea that such a highly favored and magnificent being could choose to turn against his creator forms a critical theological point, setting the stage for the dramatic narrative of his rebellion and subsequent fall. The primary cause attributed to Lucifer's downfall is overwhelming pride, often considered the first and greatest of sins. According to traditional narratives, Lucifer became dissatisfied with his exalted yet subordinate position in the heavenly order. He began to admire his own brilliance and power to an excessive degree. This self-admiration grew into an ambition to be equal to God, or even to usurp God's supreme authority. The desire expressed as, "I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God," encapsulates this profound arrogance. This aspiration was a direct challenge to the divine hierarchy and the sovereignty of the Creator, marking the beginning of his tragic deviation. Lucifer's rebellion was not a solitary act of defiance. His charisma and high standing apparently allowed him to persuade a significant number of other angels to join his cause. These angels, swayed by his arguments or their own discontent, chose to follow him in challenging God's authority. This led to a monumental conflict in heaven, often referred to as the war in heaven. The archangel Michael is traditionally depicted as the leader of God's loyal angelic forces opposing Lucifer and his legions. This celestial battle was a cataclysmic event, a clash of immense spiritual powers, representing the primordial struggle between loyalty and rebellion, good and evil. The outcome of this war would have profound implications for the cosmos. The celestial war concluded with the decisive defeat of Lucifer and his rebellious followers. They were overpowered by God's loyal angels and consequently cast out of heaven. This expulsion was a divine judgment, a necessary consequence of their treasonous actions. This event marks the transformation of Lucifer from a light-bringer, a glorious archangel, into a fallen angel, an entity separated from divine grace and light. His name, once a symbol of his brilliance, became a poignant reminder of what he had lost. He and his cohorts were banished from the divine presence, their heavenly status revoked and their destiny forever altered by their choice to rebel against their Creator. The fall from grace had far-reaching consequences. Lucifer, now often referred to as Satan, meaning the adversary or the accuser, became the principal antagonist to God and humanity. His new domain was often considered to be the earth, or sometimes a shadowy underworld, where he would continue his opposition to divine plans. His fall is traditionally seen as the event that introduced evil, sin and suffering into the created order. The angels who fell with him became known as demons, entities who now serve him in his ongoing efforts to tempt humanity and lead them away from God, thus perpetuating the cycle of rebellion he initiated. In Christian theological frameworks, Lucifer, often identified with Satan, plays a crucial role as the primary adversary. He is consistently portrayed as the chief antagonist to God, humanity, and the divine plan for salvation. His character is multifaceted. He is the tempter who seeks to lead individuals into sin, the deceiver who twists truth and spreads falsehoods, and the accuser who highlights human failings before God. His overarching objective is to thwart God's purposes and to draw humanity away from divine grace and into spiritual darkness and separation. This depiction establishes a cosmic struggle where Lucifer represents a powerful, intelligent, yet ultimately finite spiritual force of opposition. The narrative of the temptation in the Garden of Eden is a cornerstone of Lucifer's perceived influence on humanity. While the Book of Genesis describes the tempter merely as a serpent, later Christian tradition widely identified this serpent with Lucifer or Satan. In this story, the serpent cunningly tempts Eve, and subsequently Adam, to disobey God's command by eating the forbidden fruit. This act leads to the fall of man and the introduction of sin and mortality into the human experience. This interpretation directly links Lucifer to the origin of human transgression, underscoring his deceptive nature and his malevolent intent to corrupt God's perfect creation and sever the relationship between humanity and its creator. Several key figures are intrinsically linked to the unfolding story of Lucifer within Christian narratives. God, of course, stands as the supreme, omnipotent creator and the ultimate judge of Lucifer's rebellion. The archangel Michael is prominently featured as Lucifer's celestial opponent, the loyal commander who led the angelic forces that defeated and expelled the rebels from heaven. Adam and Eve are the first humans whose tragic fall is attributed to Lucifer's temptation, setting the stage for the human condition of sin and redemption. Later, Jesus Christ directly confronts Satan's temptations in the wilderness, an event that demonstrates Christ's divine power and Satan's ultimate inability to overcome him, foreshadowing his final defeat. Christian theology attributes significant, though not unlimited, power and intelligence to Lucifer. He is depicted as capable of influencing human thoughts, creating illusions to deceive, and commanding a host of demonic forces to carry out his will. However, a crucial theological point is that his power is entirely subordinate to God's ultimate sovereignty. He cannot compel humans to sin against their will. Individuals must choose to yield to his temptations, thus emphasizing the importance of human free will and moral responsibility. Furthermore, his ultimate defeat is a central tenet of Christian eschatology, indicating that his reign of influence is temporary and his destructive capabilities are constrained by divine decree. Numerous prophecies within Christian scripture, particularly in the apocalyptic Book of Revelation, detail Lucifer's escalating influence during the period known as the End Times. These texts suggest that his deceptive activities will intensify and he will empower malevolent human figures, such as the Antichrist, to mislead nations and persecute believers. This era is foretold to be a time of unprecedented global tribulation and spiritual warfare, testing the faith of many. These prophecies serve not only as warnings about future hardships, but also as calls for steadfast spiritual vigilance and unwavering faith among believers, highlighting a final, desperate surge of his opposition before his ultimate downfall. Despite any temporary surge in power, Christian prophecy unequivocally foretells Lucifer's final and irreversible defeat. The Book of Revelation culminates in a vision of a final judgment, where Lucifer, along with his demonic followers and all who unrepentantly aligned with him, will be cast into a lake of fire. This event symbolizes the complete and eternal eradication of evil and rebellion from God's creation. This ultimate triumph of good over evil is a cornerstone of Christian hope, promising the end of suffering and the establishment of a new heaven and a new earth, where righteousness and peace will reign supreme under God's direct and undisputed rule. The story of Lucifer, his splendor, rebellion, and fall has exerted a profound and lasting impact on Christian religious thought and doctrine. It provides a comprehensive narrative framework for understanding complex theological concepts such as the origin of evil, the nature of sin, the importance of free will, and the ongoing cosmic conflict between divine goodness and malevolent forces. His tragic trajectory from a glorious angel to the Prince of Darkness serves as a powerful and enduring cautionary tale against the perils of pride, disobedience, and the rejection of divine love. The figure of Lucifer helps to articulate why suffering and temptation exist in a world created by a benevolent God. Beyond theological discourse, the figure of Lucifer has deeply permeated popular culture, becoming an enduring archetype in literature, art, music, and film. John Milton's epic poem, for example, offers a complex and sympathetic portrayal of Satan, exploring his motivations and tragic grandeur. In various cultural interpretations, he has been depicted as a purely malevolent entity, a cunning trickster, a tragic anti-hero, or even a symbol of rebellion against tyranny. This persistent cultural fascination reflects an enduring human interest in themes of power, freedom, temptation, transgression, and the profound mysteries of good and evil, ensuring his story continues to be reinterpreted and reimagined for new generations.